All right, so welcome everybody to the Meadowlark Motel's third annual Robert Burns Supper. And here we are in the mountains of western North Carolina at the Meadowlark Motel, a place called Maggie Valley. And we're just going to get right into the celebrations and talk about what's going on after the first song, which is, of course, a Robert Burns song. Goes like this. My heart's in the Highlands, my heart is not here. My heart's in the Highlands, chasing the deer, chasing the wild deer and following the road. My heart's in the Highlands, wherever I go. Farewell to the Highlands, farewell to the North, the birthplace of valour, the country of both. Wherever I wander, wherever I rove, the hills of the Highlands forever I love. My heart's in the Highlands, my heart is not here. My heart's in the Highlands, chasing a deer, chasing a wild deer and following the road. My heart's in the Highlands, wherever I go. Farewell to the mountains, high covered with snow. Farewell to the straths and green valleys below. Farewell to the forests and wild hanging woods. Farewell to the torrents and loud pouring floods. My heart's in the Highlands, my heart is not here. My heart's in the Highlands, chasing the deer. Yes, we chasing the wild deer and following the road. My heart's in the Highlands, wherever I go. One more time now, everybody! My heart's in the Highlands, my heart is not here. My heart's in the Highlands, chasing the deer. Yes, we chasing the wild deer and following the road. My heart's in the Highlands, wherever I go. Yes, indeed. Just like that, we launch into Burns country. And it's a coincidence because, you know, all of the words in that song which Burns wrote because he loved the Highlands. His father was from the north of Scotland, and he had a strong love and affinity, and he travelled there quite extensively when he was visiting Edinburgh and the east coast of Scotland. Burns being from the west coast originally. My hometown, Kilmarnock, on the west coast, was where his first book of poems was published, and he was born just 15 miles down the road. So when we grew up at school in Scotland, we were taught Robert Burns as a kind of mark of honour to sit and recite My love is like a red, red rose into a mouse and other of his works in school. And it was exciting. It was a lot of fun, you know. Knowing that this chap, this renowned fellow, had even frequented buildings and places near where I lived and was brought up. Anyway, I digress. It's his birthday, so let's celebrate, right? So if you're online, let's see who's online. We've got Joseph, Ronald, and Daphne. Hello there, everybody. I hope you're dressed to kilt, as it were, because I am. And that's what we're doing. We're doing a little bit of a kind of survey of if you post a picture, we'll check it out and see who's the best dressed to kilt. Anyway, we're going to continue with another Robert Burns song. This is in the tradition of the Immortal Memory, which is the first part of the Robert Burns Supper. And it's where we extol the virtues of this man who did so much to make Scottish people feel proud and, good about being Scottish at a time when it wasn't really being promoted very well. But this is it. It's called Honest Poverty, and it's a song. It's a civil rights song. It's a human rights song, and Robert Burns wrote it round about 1780 or something like that. The historians will tell you, but it's called Honest Poverty, and it goes like this. Is there for honest poverty? Is there for honest poverty? Is there for honest poverty that hangs his head and all that? The coward, the slave, we pass them by. We dare be poor for all that, for all that, and all that. Our toils obscure and all that. The rank is but the goodness stamp. The man's the goad for all that. What though unhamely fare we dine, we're hot and grey and all that. He fools their silks and knaves their wine. A man's a man for all that, for all that, and all that. Their tinsel trow and all that. The honest man, though else a poor, is king o' men for all that. Is there for honest poverty? Is there for honest poverty? Hey. You see yon Burkie called a lord, for strats and stairs and all that. Though hundreds worship at his word, he's but a coof for all that, for all that, and all that. His ribbon star and all that. The man of independent mind, he looks and laughs at all that. Hey, hey. A prince can make a belted knight, a marquis, a duke, and all that. But an honest man's a boon his might. Good faith, he maun fall that. And all that, and all that, their dignities and all that. The pistol sense and pride of us, and higher rank and all that. Here they are. Was there for honest poverty? Is there for honest poverty? Hey. Now let us pray that comet rain as comet will for all that sense and worth, for all the earth shall bear the grief for all that, and all that it's coming yet, for all that man to man the world Lord shall brothers be for all that. Is there for honest poverty? Is there for honest poverty? Is there for honest poverty? I said, is there for honest poverty? Hey, for honest poverty. go. The lad himself, the bard himself, excuse me, Robert Burns, writing about human rights back in 17, well, I think it was around about 1780, we'll say. But before the French Revolution, before the American Constitution, the American Bill of Rights, and all that stuff, Robert Burns was already laying it down back then. So that just gives you an idea of the stature of the man, And what is amazing about Robert Burns is that not only was he able to inspire patriotism and loyalty and friendship, even to this day, among his followers, people that read him, the books, his poems have been translated into many different languages, and upon understanding the message of honest poverty, several countries adopted that philosophical outlook as a way to guide them with regard to their own path towards human rights and civil rights. So this is a big influence that this chap had. Now, as I was saying, the amazing thing about Burns is that you think, well, he must have been some deep philosophical thinker to have come up with something that would inspire, Robespierre and all these other revolutionists, French people back, 20 years later. But the truth of the matter is that Robert Burns was just a ploughman poet. He was a farmer. He was a West Coast farmer who liked to go out and drink and socialise, and he liked women. He loved his country and he loved nature. He was just a simple man. In my book, The Autobiography of Robert Burns, which I recommend for you, it's called Dirt and Deity, because that is the paradox of Burns the man, is that not only was he a person who could inspire others to noble thought and action and deed, as it were, he was also just a simple man who loved hanging out with the boys and getting drunk and writing songs and poems. But the thing that set him apart was that he had a very keen eye for the absurd and things that were not right with the world around him, which made his poems and songs that he wrote and that he would present to his friends during their drinking sessions, and they'd sing them, and because it would be interspersed, you understand, with a few blue ones, a few blue poems, a few glasses of wine, port, whatever they were drinking. I think Burns actually drank port, but they would be getting drunk and they would be making fun of the vicar, of the minister, of the lawyers. They would be making fun of them as they got drunk. And what Burns did, which set him apart, is that he would write poems about these people and songs about them, and he would recite them to grand fanfare from his friends, because they were that good that they would have people rolling about, laughing, and then thinking, what he said there, it was really actually pretty deep in the case of Honest Poverty. But many other poems that are just humorous takes on Scottish life at the time. Lawyers, ministers, as I said, judges, nobody was spared. And that was what then gave rise to his great output of work. He would write these things, and he never published them. They would just be, I guess he kept them in a book or somewhere, but he never published them. So what happened, what made him end up publishing them, was that he was getting bored with life in Scotland, and he had decided that he was going to emigrate to Jamaica. But we're getting a little bit of ahead of ourselves. As I was saying, here we are. As I was saying, hello Marwena, just saying hello to a few people here. Excuse me a minute, a few people online. Hello Marwena, Stevie Bo, hi Stevie. Oh, my good friends, my great friends. Alright, so, as I was saying, Burns was a farmer. And I'd like to just recite a little poem that he wrote, because it's another one of those things that we go, really? I didn't know that. Because his influence actually reached American literature, for example. This poem that he wrote whilst he was out in the fields farming with a plough and an assistant to help him, about a mouse whose nest he had overturned with the plough, destroying the nest and sending the mice scurrying, and his assistant about to, kill them. And Burns said, no, wait a minute, don't kill the mice. Why are you killing the mice? So, for him, it was a moment of nature teaching him something. And as he stood there watching this, he was inspired to write the poem, To a Mouse. Now, To a Mouse, as I was saying, the cultural references in America are in the book, John Steinbeck's book of Mice and Men. Because that is a direct quote from the poem To a Mouse, written by Robert Burns. The best laid schemes of mice and men gang after gley, and Leah's nought but grief and pain. That is from the poem To a Mouse. Also, that quotation, the best laid schemes of mice and men gang after gley, it gets translated in, the best laid plans, blah, blah, blah. That's from this poem. So I'd like to now take the opportunity, having you online. Marwena, I love you. Daphne, I love you. Joseph, I love you. Ronnie, I love you. Let's do Robert Burns' To a Mouse. All right? Now, you've got to understand, he's driving through the field with his plough and turns over a piece of earth and destroys a little mouse's nest, and he's inspired. Wee, sleekit, coor and timorous beastie, oh, what a panic's in thy breastie. Thou needna run awa sae hasty, wi' bickering brattle. I would be laith to run and chase thee, wi' murder and battle. I'm truly sorry man's dominion has broken nature's social union, and justifies that ill opinion which makes thee startle at me, thy poor earth-born companion and fellow mortal. I doubt not whiles, but thou may thieve. What then, poor beastie, thou maun leave? A day me nicker and a thrave's a sma request. I'll get a bressin wi' the lave and ne'er miss it. Thy wee bit housey, too, in ruins. It's silly was the winds are strewing, and naething left to big a newin but cob foggage green, and bleak December's winds ensuing, baith snell and keen. Thou saw the fields laid bare and wast, and weary winter coming fast, and cosy here beneath the blast thou thought to dwell, till crash the cruel coulter's passed out through thy cell. That wee bit heap of leaves and stibble has cost thee many a weary nibble. Now thou's turned out for all thy trouble, but house are hard to thole the winter's sleety dribble, and Cranrach called. But, Mousie, thou art no thy lane, in proving foresight may be vain. The best laid schemes of mice and men gang after gley, and Leah's nought but grief and pain for promised joy. Still, thou art blessed compared with me. The present only toucheth thee. But och, backward cast my ear, prospects drear, and forward, though I canna see, I guess and fear. To a mouse. Got a little bit. Forgot the words a minute there. But isn't that a great, a great message? Now, these songs and poems, the words are Scottish dialect, so you might not understand every single word, but I think you get the drift, right? How you doing? How's everybody doing? As my friend Joseph said. How you doing? How you doing? So, Robert Burns' To a Mouse. Hope you enjoyed that, folks. Well said, Mike. Hi, Reg Tate there. He's over in Scotland. Kayvon Zahedi is in Canada. Maggie Rainwater Bud. I don't know where you are, Maggie. If you want to pipe up and let us know which part of the world. Maggie Rainwater Bud. That sounds like it could be America. Reg is in Scotland. Marwena's in Scotland. Stevie Bo, I don't know. Daphne J. Bell, my girlfriend there, she's out there in New York. Joseph's in New York. Ronald Grant, I don't know. But it's just good to see people tuning in on Robert Burns' birthday, the 25th of January, 1759. That's when he was born. 25th of January 1759 on the west coast of Scotland, just 15 miles south of where I was born in Kilmarnock on the west coast. So here we are. These are some other people who were born on this day. I just wanted to share with you people. And if you were born and on this day and you share a birthday with Robert Burns, then pipe up on the chat here, you know, and we'll give you a shout out. Happy birthday. But here's some people that were born on this day. Alicia Keys, a musician, singer-songwriter, fabulous pianist, fabulous voice. She was born on this day. Actually, I think her mother was Scottish, if I'm not mistaken. She had emigrated, you know, to America, but Alicia Keys' mother was of Scottish descent. Etta James, born on this day. The fantastic Etta James, the blues jazz singer, I call her, because she was more than just a blues singer. She was a soul jazz, blues jazz. She was just terrific. Etta James was born on this day. Olsen sisters, those identical sisters who were famous as child actors and have continued to stay famous for being famous. They were born on this day. Doc Cheatham, the blues musician, was born on this day. I think back in the 20s was his heyday. Jack Nicholson, one of my favourite actors, born on this day. Lewis Hamilton, F1 driver, Formula One car driver, Lewis Hamilton. Virginia Woolf. John Cooper Clarke, a poet, a Mancunian from Manchester, born on this day. And Ewan MacColl, another poet, singer-songwriter, and Antonio Carlos Jobim. A little bit of exotica there with Antonio. So these are all people that were born on this day, sharing birthday with the Scots Bard. So you get the idea why they call the first part of the Burns Supper the immortal memory, because to this day he's still with us in the culture, and to this day they celebrate his birthday all over the world. The next section of the supper would move into a phase of celebration of the fairer sex, as we like to call it. It's the toast to the lassies, and when I do these virtual Burns suppers by myself, I usually sing these different sections. So I opened with My Heart's in the Highlands and the Honest Poverty as opportunities to talk about Burns's immortal memory. This next one is an opportunity to reflect on Burns's appreciation for the fair sex. I guess that is the way to describe it. Later on, we have a lady by the name of Isabel Smith who's going to be giving the reply, which will help explain a little bit of Burns's approach to the fair sex. But here's a song that he wrote that extols the virtues of the fair sex, the women in his life, his mother, his sisters, his girlfriend, his wife, all very, very special people to him. This is called Green Grow the Rashes O, and we would like to dedicate it to the lassies. There's nought but care on every hand, and every hour that passes, oh, what signifies the life of man, and 24 lasses, oh. The barley raise me riches chase, and riches still may fly them all, and though at last they catch them fast, their hearts could ne'er enjoy them all. Green grow the riches, oh, grow the rashes on the sweetest hours that I spent among the lasses on. Green grow the rashes on, green grow the rashes on the sweetest hours that I spent among the lasses on. Green grow the rashes. Canny öre Ian, my arms about my dearie, and while they cares and while they men may all get up saltery, but you seduce, you sneer at this, you're no but senseless asses, the wisest man among I saw, he dearly loved them lasses, green glow the rashes, grow the rushes of the sweetest stars that I spent among the lasses of. Green grow the rushes of, green grow the rushes of the sweetest stars that I spent among the lasses of. Oh, oh, green grow the rushes. Swears the lovely dears, her noblest works she classes, oh, her prentice hand she tried on man, and then she made the lasses, oh. Green grow the rashes, oh, green grow the rashes, oh, the sweetest earth that I spent among the lasses, oh. Green grow the rashes, oh, green grow the rashes, oh, the sweetest earth that I spent among the lasses, oh. Oh, oh, oh. Green grow the rashes, green grow, oh, 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 green grow the rashes, 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 oh, green grow. There you go. That's my arrangement of it, right? It's one of those things. Why did he do that? That's what people, the usual reaction to people that are fans of Robert Burns's traditional work. They hear my arrangements, which I just play them that way, and they go, "Why is he doing that?" But that was my arrangement of Green Grow the Rashes, and you have to admit it's a great message, it's a great sentiment from the Bard, because he does get a lot of flack for being a bit of a philanderer, a bit of a ladies' man, you know. But it was just a different time. Now, so there's a great book, by the way, if you want to read it. I'll tell you what it is. Where is it? Ah. Oh no, I can't find it. It's a book written by a woman, and it goes into the seedier side of Burns's life. I'll find it and I'll tell you what it is. But hey, those were the times. Now, having given the Burns take on the lassies, at this point in the proceedings, it's usually time for the women to get an opportunity to give their take on the laddies. So we have got a lady by the name of Isabel Smith from Solihull, who has a fantastic a response to the toast to the laddies. By the way, we do have to give the toast now, so I hope you've got your glasses ready, because at the end of, there's supposed to be a lot of drinking going on at a Burns supper. Drinking and eating and speechifying and noise. It's very noisy. All the ones I've played at have been super noisy, and that's just the Burns supper way, I guess. But this is what they call your other national drink. It's Iron Brew. What was it? Bar's Iron Brew. I was saying Burns. Used to be Bar. That's why it's not on here anymore. Hey, somebody pipe up. It's not Bar's Iron Brew anymore, is it? That's like Johnny Walker getting taken out of Kilmarnock. They've taken the bars out of Iron Brew, Reg, what happened? They've taken the bars out of Iron Brew. Anyway, it used to be called Bar's Iron Brew. That's what I'm looking at it. I'm thinking, was it Burns Iron Brew? No, Bar's Iron Brew, but now it's just Iron Brew. But this is what they call Scotland's other national drink, Bar's Iron Brew. Well, not Bar's Iron Brew now, just Iron Brew. And the last time I tasted it, it was disgusting. Sorry. I don't like these kind of drinks. I don't even, well, I like Sprite, but this one, it tastes a little bit metallic for some reason. Well, they say it's made out of girders. That's the promo on it. It's made out of girders. Maybe that's why it tastes. To me, it tastes a little bit metallic, and maybe people like that taste. Anyway, here's to the laddies. Okay, gentlemen, I would ask you to be upstanding, and I'm upstanding, just down low, and charge your glasses and raise them in a salute to the laddies. To the laddies. That's what usually happens. And then we'll drink it. Oh, this is better actually. This is not too bad. Is anybody hungry? It's a bit of an appetizer. It's a bit like a spritzer, I guess. Pretty nice actually. Since the last time I tried it. So, excuse me, I'm glad I took that drink. Let's see who's online before we move on to the next toast to the lassies. Hey! See that? Reg Tate, I knew he knew about it. Slanjavar! Saved a can for you. I'll save some for you, Daphne. Okay. Kayvon, is that your favourite drink, Kayvon? Hey, it's not bad. It's improved over the past. I think last time I tried it was probably about 10 years ago. Now you may be wondering, where does it get this? Well, there's a little place down in Waynesville, which is nearby. It's called St Andrew's Square, I think. And that's all they do. They just sell Scottish food. Isn't that amazing? But we'll get into that later, because here in the mountains of western North Carolina, there's a very strong Scotch-Irish presence. And that also goes back to Scotland, you know, because the Scotch-Irish were just Scottish people who get fed up with life in Scotland and basically get kicked out of Scotland and ended up in Northern Ireland. Then they got kicked out of there and came to America, and many of them, came to the mountains of Western North Carolina and other places too. But there's McElroy's here, and then when you look at the names, McDonald's, and all this, you look at the names of these settlers and these pioneers. Lots of them have got Scottish and Irish names, So we'll get into that later. Anyway, let's listen. Is everybody ready? Hey, Rich! Good to see you, Rich. I'm sorry you couldn't get down here. Look, I'm making a vow. Next year, it's going to be live. We wanted to have Joseph. Big shout out to Joseph, the owner. We wanted to have 2 or 3 days of just Scottishness here at the motel. Next year, we're going to do it. COVID or no COVID, come on, right? Who's with me? We're with you, Mike. Alright, so let's see. Isabel Smith, is it? Yes, it is. Now, Solihull is where she's from. But it just speaks to the international nature of Robert Burns's appeal. Because Solihull is in England. But there's probably a Scottish community in Solihull, I believe there is, that has its roots in Scotland, because a lot of Scottish people went down to the Midlands to mine or to look for work when there was work shortages in Scotland. People would go where the work was, and places like the Midlands where there were mines, mining coal, mining iron. Scottish people would migrate to places like that. Ewan McCall, whose birthday it is today, is a perfect example of that. His family migrated from Scotland to I can't remember the name of the place, but the Midlands, Solihull, and these were places that had large Scottish communities as a result of that migration. So this woman, though, she has got a nice Scottish accent, Isabel Smith from Solihull. And she is going to give the reply to the lassies. So, pucker up your ears. Are you hungry? While she's doing this, I'm going to nip off to the kitchen and get my food ready, my haggis and neeps, and I'll share that with you. But please, stick around and listen to Isabel Smith give this talk, because it's really actually quite a good response. This is to the lassies, and it's Isabel Smith.
Burns did lead the way in his appreciation of an attitude towards women. He had taste and he loved women. Robert Burns was a feminist. Yeah. But he was also a feminist. Robert Burns loved women. In fact, without us, he says he would not have written a single word. For a quote, "I never had the least thought nor inclination of turning poet until I got heartily. Rhyme and song became the spontaneous language of my heart." Burns also thought his women as the superior of the species. He said, "Mother Nature, her prentice hand, she tried a man, and then she made the lassies." This is how important the lassies were to Rabbie Burns. He loved the company of the fairer sex, and in fact preferred it to that of men. He said, "The finest hours that e'er I spent were spent among the lassies all." And quite apart from his lovers, there were two key women that played a part in his view on women. And that was his mother, and her friend, her oldest friend, Betty Davidson, who fueled the young Robert's imagination and fired up his passion for words and stories. Agnes, his mother, was a small, vibrant woman with bright red hair who could not write but could tell stories. And she told him traditional Scottish stories and sang old folk songs to the young Rabbie Burns, laying the foundations of our son's passion for rhyme and song. Betty Davidson, her oldest friend, delighted in telling him ghost stories, and she involved the devil, warlocks and fairies in these stories. Ravi Burns wrote Tam O'Shanter one evening, and it's clear that the poem had been bubbling away inside since he was a small, terrified young boy listening to Betty's stories and her tall tales of superstition and apparition and dragons by the dim light of the crackling fire. Robert Burns was also an advocate for women's rights, and at a time when Emmeline Pankhurst was still a twinkle in Mother Nature's eye, the poem The Rights of Women, which may seem patronising now, but in 1792, in the French Revolution, it was groundbreaking, shocking, and he was laughed at by his friends in his supper club and the Masonic Lodge. Burns wrote the poem for Miss Louise Fontenelle, and she was a London actress who performed it at benefit night. And just an extract from it says, "While Europe's eye is fixed on mighty things, the fate of empires and the fall of kings, while quacks of state must each produce his plan, and even children lisp the rights of man, amid this mighty fuss, just let me mention, the rights of women merit some attention." And in this poem, Robert Burns is calling to the social order, particularly the ruling classes, to pay attention to the attributes of women in society and to womankind in general, and to value their intrinsic worth, particularly as pacifiers in a time of war. Robert Burns was a ladies' man in every sense of the word. Women made him, women inspired him, and women educated him. Yes, Burns was a reckless romantic who fell in love and into bed too easily with women. He loved women, and they loved him back. He loved lots of women, his mother, his aunts, his sisters, his wife, his daughters, and of course his lovers. Many Celtic women extended freely what was euphemistically called the friendship of the thighs. Burns valued and appreciated women for their beauty and intellect, along with their political views, their humour, their passions for words and language, and he stuck up for them, and he advocated for them at a time when women had no rights at all. So please, as you think about Ravi Burns, and as you think about other men, please do remember the wider range of attributes which can be attached to them, other than with Robbie Burns, philanderer and fornicator. And remember, he also was a feminist. So, with that in mind, gentlemen, thank you for your toast to the lassies, and encourage you, dig deep and nurture that feminist inside of all of you. And ladies, please be upstanding and join me in a toast to the laddies.
Well, there you go. Who'd have thought?
Good evening, Club Captain, Lady Captain, President, Chairman.
Isabel Smith. So she actually explained a little bit of the meaning of the words to Green Grow, the Rashes Row, the song that I sang before that, and Burns's attitude towards the women. So let's. I wasn't technically capable of joining in the toast and having that. Well, I guess I was. Actually, now I'm thinking about it. But I'm going to have a little toast with you now, because we're going to do the food break. It's time for some food. Well, let's give a toast to the lassies, right? Right. Let's give a toast to something. All right. So we're going to. I'm going to put some music on, because we're going to go to the food now. But before we go to the food, we're going to toast the lassies, and we're going to toast to the lassies with a little story. And it's the story of how Burns ended up publishing. Remember, I told you that he'd never published his songs and his poems and all that. But it was his brother. I think his name is Gilbert. Is that right, Reg? Is it Gilbert? His Robert Burns' brother name, Gilbert Burns. Anyway, Robert Burns' brother persuaded him to write and release these poems because Burns was fed up with life in Scotland. His mind was, he wanted to travel, you know. So he'd heard about Jamaica. Being a farmer, to go to Jamaica was to chase a fortune in money, because there was a lot of money being made from sugar plantations and things like that in Jamaica, tobacco, in Virginia, places like the stories that were coming to Scotland. Well, if you were a farmer and you could go out to the West Indies and the Americas, you had it made, kind of thing. So he had decided he was going to go to Jamaica. But his brother said to him, look, before you go to Jamaica, take all those songs and poems that you've got stashed away, put them together, get your friends to get you some money, and get a few copies printed and publish them. Yeah, get a few copies printed, yeah, put them out. You know, see what happens. At least it'll get you a few bob, you know, to take with you on your journey. Well, that's how the poems and the songs ended up being published, because Burns needed some money to travel abroad, and his brother persuaded him that would be a good way to raise some cash. Well, of course, the effect was it snowballed. Like so many people wanted copies of his poems, that it got sold out. He became well known. He became famous. He ended up going to Edinburgh and not going to Jamaica. So for 1 second there, Robert Burns might have been, you know, publishing his works and his poems in Jamaica. That's why I like playing that with that reggae feel, playing my songs with a reggae feel. But it's a kind of little side bar to what could have been if Robert Burns had ended up going to Jamaica when he planned to. But so, in honour of Burns's Jamaican period, we now have Appleton Estate, which is a farm in Jamaica, or a place in Jamaica, I guess, where they make rum, and I'm sure it's sugarcane they grow there, but they make rum. So, in honour of Burns's, this is it here, by the way, Jamaican, you can see it right on. In honour of Burns's, and I'm in my room, by the way, I'm private. I'm not sharing this. It's private. In honour of Burns's Jamaican period, we like to drink our toast to the lassies with a glass of very fine Jamaican rum. To the lassies, excuse me. Ah, very nice. Spicy but not too sweet. Okay, so I'm going to get the food. Should be ready by now. And traditionally we pipe in the food. And I have got the pipes and drums. I don't know who they are, but they're good. So as I get the food ready, please enjoy Scotland a Brave. That was what they call piping in the haggis. Wait a minute. Push that off. Piping in the haggis. That's another part of the traditional Burn supper. And then when the haggis gets piped in, we didn't get a haggis this year because the person that we got haggis from, all of the events get cancelled. They went out of business, so they don't do haggis anymore. But fortunately, it was a great product. Now, just so I'm staying in touch with you, watchers online. Oh, there you go, Iron Brew. Made from girdlers, that's right. Okay, so I did find this. Though I couldn't find any live haggis, you know. They were. I was able to find some of this. The Caledonian Kitchen, it's called, and this is actually, at the risk of being, you know, accused of blasphemy, it's actually pretty good. I quite enjoy it. I get this. It's called the Caledonian Kitchen Haggis. Now you can get this if you're in New York. You can get it at Miles of Keswick. I get it here down there at St Andrew's Place, and that's what we're eating here tonight. But traditionally, after the haggis gets brought in, someone gets up and recites an address to the haggis, which is a Robert Burns poem that he wrote about this dish, which is so famous and infamous all over the world. But here's the poem that Burns wrote, which usually gets recited with great drama and flair by a kilted Scotsman wielding a dagger, who will proceed to slice the living, boiling haggis open and recite this poem. Fair fa, your honest, sonsy face, great chieftain o' the puddin' race, aboon them a' ye tak your place. Page, tripe, or thairm, weel are ye worthy o' a grace as lang's my arm. The groaning trencher, there ye fill, your hurdies like a distant hill, your pin would help to mend a mill in time o' need, while through your pores your dews distill like amber bead. His knife, see rustic labour dicht, and cut ye up wi' ready slicht, trenching your gushing entrails brecht, like ony ditch, and then, oh, what a glorious sicht, warm reeking, rich. Then, horn for horn they stretch and strive, deal tak the hindmost, on they drive, till all their wheel-swelt kites be live, are bent like drums. Then, all good man, maist like to rive, bethank it hums. Is there that o'er his French ragout, or olio, that would staw a sou, or fricassee would make her spew, with perfect scudder, looks down with sneer and scorn for view on sic a dinner. Poor devil, see him or his trash, as feckless as a withered rash, his spindle shank a good whip lash, his knee a knit, through bloody flood or field to dash. Oh, how unfit. But mark the rustic haggis fed. The trembling earth resounds his tread, clap in his wally knave a blade, he'll mak it whistle, and legs and arms and heads will sned like taps o' thistle. Ye powers, wha mak mankind your care, and dish them out their bill of fare. All Scotland wants nae skinking ware that jops and luggies, but if ye wish her grateful prayer, gie her a haggis. So traditionally at the end of that, everybody gets up and goes, gie her a haggis. To a haggis. So I'm hungry. I want to eat that stuff, right? Let's stop talking about it. Let's eat it. So some hae meat, but can I eat and some would eat that want it. Now we have eat, we can eat, and let the Lord be thanked. So, I hope, that's the Selkirk Grace, by the way. I hope you've got, so good. I hope you've got some, something to eat. I really hope you got some haggis because it's delicious. Huh. I bet it'll watch me. See? So good. I should have some iron brew, right? But this is traditionally what happens, you know. You go out to a I go to the Caledonian Club Burns Supper, right? In New York. Or the American Scottish Foundation Burn Suppers. And here's what happens, you get a plate of food and you sit down on a chair outside of the dance floor and you eat your food, or a little table, and you chat with people. And down about Scotland. Now we're going to try and get some ceilidhs together here on the property, because there's nothing like a good ceilidh for socialising, meeting people and getting to know people and dancing. Delicious. Okay, Mike, that's enough of that. You're making people hungry. I thoroughly recommend that. What's it called? The Caledonian Kitchen haggis is delicious. Alright folks, hope you're enjoying the show. Well, I don't know how many suppers I've been to or performed at. Not a lot, but maybe about 20 or something like that, you know. There are people that do 3 or 4 burn suppers during this time of year. They'll get booked for a week or so and just be doing burn suppers. But I didn't do that. Okay folks, just washing down my haggis and neeps and potatoes with some of Scotland's other national drink, iron brew. Okay, so we can continue. And I thought I'd sing the song that sometimes gets used, often gets used, to pipe in the haggis. It's Flower of Scotland. And of course, nationalist pride makes people think, oh, this is the Scottish national anthem and all that. Which is, you know, great. Probably will be. Oh, excuse me. Oh, I burped. Excuse me. It's that iron brew. But as with all things cultural and musical, poetic, there is the broader, the more universal outlook. And I think of the Flower of Scotland as being symbolic of youth, budding energy, things yet to become, things to be, for every nation. So when I sing it, I'm kind of thinking of people all over the world. Oh, flower of Scotland, when will we see your like again, that fought and died for at Weebit Hill and Glen and stood against him, proud Edward's army, and sent him homeward to think again. The hills are bare now, and deeds and leaves lie thick and still. Oh, land that is lost and which those so dearly held that stood against him, proud Edward's army, and sent him homeward to think again. Those days are gone now, and in the past they must remain, but we can still rise now and be the nation again that stood against him, proud Edward's army, and sent him homeward to think again, to think again, as I think again. Scotland, thank you. So, it's about, now it's about time to do another toast after the haggis. We would do another toast to the haggis during the meal. Lots of this stuff going around, so I'm just going to enjoy it with you. Cheers! Here's to a good Scottish meal of haggis, neeps and tatties. What we just had. I hope you had some. I hope you got something nice to accompany with. Either your national drink, your other national drink, your iron brew here, or maybe a single malt, or maybe some Jamaican rum. Who knows? But anyway, I'd like to tell you another little story now about Robert Burns, and it's bringing us to the close, of the Burns Supper. But this story is the story of Auld Lang Syne, the song that you sing at New Year's. And that story has got a very interesting backstory. That song has got an interesting backstory because it brings to mind the fact that Robert Burns was actually a musicologist as well as being a poet and a singer and a songwriter. He was a musicologist. He collected old Scottish verse and songs, and he wrote them down and got them ready for publication, basically, in a book called The Scottish Museum. I think there's several volumes of this, but and it was published in Edinburgh. It was a way for him to make some money at the time. But he loved this job. He would go around Scotland and remembering from his childhood as well. But he loved meeting people and having them sing old Scottish songs and learning them himself and writing them down and then having them. He would, sometimes he would hear a part of a song from one person and then another part from another person and somebody else, he'd remember it. But he'd put all these things together and you would get a poem, a new song out of it. That's how Auld Lang Syne came about. It wasn't something that Robert Burns decided, I'm going to write this poem. It was something that was the result of his work as a musicologist. And there's a correspondence between him and one of his benefactors in Ayrshire, Mrs. Dunlop, in which he describes how it all came together, because the sentiment of, letting bygones be bygones and having a drink and, not holding on to ill will, which is what that's the sentiment that we express at New Year's. We're going to let bygones be bygones and have a drink and not hold on to any ill feeling that we've had, because this is it's a new year, it's a new start. Well, Burns' original inspiration for this was actually a meeting that he had to attend with an old friend with whom he had not parted on the best of terms. And in this correspondence with Mrs. Dunlop, he describes the sentiment of Auld Lang Syne as being perfect to describe what happened to him at that meeting, because what they ended up doing was they ended up just letting bygones be bygones, even though they hadn't seen each other since childhood, this friend and Burns. They remembered all the good times that they'd had. They had a drink and they let bygones be bygones. And Burns wrote back to Mrs. Dunlop and said that he'd had a fantastic time and how apropos it was for the old song, the old sentiment, Auld Lang Syne, should old acquaintance be forgot and never brought to mind for the sake of Auld Lang Syne. So, there you are, that's the story of Auld Lang Syne. But here we are. There's another version of it. Because I think it's a great message. So I put it in my set of songs every night, and I introduce it as a Scottish folk song. Should old acquaintance be forgot and never brought to mind, should old acquaintance be forgot for Auld Lang Syne, and should mend your bed, your pint still, and should live I'll be mine, and we take a cup of kindness yet for Auld Lang Syne, for Auld Lang Syne, my jewel, for Auld Lang Syne, we'll take a cup of kindness yet for Auld Lang Syne. Sing along, sing Auld Lang Syne, oh. 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 We twa he run our boots the braes and put the gowans fine, but we wandered many a weary foot as yet. Auld lang syne. Sing along, lang syne, oh. Sing along, sing old lang syne, oh. Sing along, sing old lang syne, oh. Sing old lang syne, oh. There's a hand my trusty fear, and gives a hand a nine, and we'll take a recht good walk the old lang syne. Everybody, we'll old lang syne, must do. Old lang syne, we'll have a cup of kindness yet. The old lang syne, for old lang syne, man, Joe, for old lang syne, we'll have a cup of kindness yet. Old lang syne, for old lang syne. Old Lang Syne. I call it Alt Lang Syne. And that, plus my version of Green Grow the Rashes, though, are available. You can get them on iTunes, what else? Spotify, Amazon.com. All these places you can go. Let me just show you the covers. Hold on a second. Yeah. You can... Yeah, so there's the cover to Green Grow the Rashes. Oh, remember that when I said, "Every care on every hand and every other path." That's Green Grow the Rashes. Oh, go check it out. It's on Spotify. It's on iTunes. You can purchase it on iTunes. I don't play them here because it's copyright. I might get banned. I own this song. The guy that owns it, he's copyrighted. Won't let you play it. Anyway, that's Green Grow the Rashes, though. That's what that looks like. And then also by the Blaxcotsman. That's me. We didn't get into my Blaxcotsman side, this one, but the other one, of course, is what I call Alt Lang Syne, which is, there you go, Cup of Kindness, Alt Lang Syne by the Blaxcotsman. And I'll be heavily promoting that next New Year's. So you've got a whole year to buy it and learn it for next New Year's, right? So that's Alt Lang Syne. But hey, thank you very much for participating and being here for my third annual Robert Burns supper. Now this one was virtual. Last year's one was virtual. The first one, the year before, in 2019, was completely live. And I guarantee, bang, we'll make a promise. 2023, completely live. We'll have a Scottish festival and everything right here. We'll try and do a ceilidh, do some other stuff as well. Next year, 2023. But thank you so much for tuning in and sticking with us. I'm going to end off just to further emphasize that hang on a second. Further emphasize that Auld Lang Syne is not always the last song of the night. We're going to end off with another song. This is a contemporary Scottish song about Scotland, but it's somebody who carries on Burns's legacy. He's a contemporary singer-songwriter by the name of Dougie MacLean, and he's covered Burns's work extensively. But this is one of Dougie MacLean's own songs. We're going to end off this virtual Burns Supper and say thank you to everybody who tuned in. There's quite a lot of people tuned in. Very happy about that. And thank you again. My name is Mike Ogletree. I'm the Black Scotsman. We're here at the Meadowlark Motel in Maggie Valley in western North Carolina, my mountain home. And tune in next Sunday or Saturday, but stay tuned. Visit my website, theblackscotsman.com. Black Scotsman with an X in the middle, as you can see in the corner here. Where is it? Oh, isn't that funny? Everything's opposite. There, it says Black Scotsman, BLAXCOTSMAN. And I would like to get the opportunity to, to play some more of my music and talk a little bit more about my passion for Scotland and how I ended up being called the Black Scotsman. But anyway, here's Dougie MacLean. Thank you again. Burns Night 2022, Burns Supper drawing to an end. This is Caledonia. I don't know if you can see the changes that have come over me. Been telling old stories, singing songs that make me think about where I came from. I've been telling old stories, singing songs that make me think about where I came from. That's the reason why I seem so far away today. Let me tell you that I love you, that I think about you all the time. Caledonia, you're calling, and I'm going home. If I should become a stranger, it would make me more than sad. Caledonia, you're everything I've ever had. Yeah. Caledonia, I have moved and I keep on moving. I proved the points that I needed proving. I've lost the friends that I needed losing and found others on the way. I have tried and I'll keep on trying. I've stolen dreams, oh there's no denying. I've travelled hard, my conscience flying somewhere with the wind. Let me tell you that I love you, that I think about you all the time. Caledonia, you're calling, and I'm going home. If I should become a stranger, it would make me more than sad. Caledonia, you're everything I've ever had. Yeah, Caledonia. Now I'm sitting here before the fire, the empty room, the forest choir, the frames that couldn't get any higher. They've withered now, they're gone. But I'm steady thinking my way is clear, and I know what I will do tomorrow. When hands have shaken and the kisses flow, I will disappear. Let me tell you that I love you, that I think about you all the time. Caledonia, you're calling, and I'm going home. If I should become a stranger, it would make me more than sad. Caledonia, you're everything. And let me tell you that I love you, that I think about you all the time. Caledonia, calling, and I'm going home. If I should become a stranger, it will make me more sad. Caledonia, you're everything I'm in my past. Yeah, though. Caledonia, Caledonia's been everything I've ever had. Bump. Hey, next year, live, right here in Maggie Valley at the Meadowlark Motel. Thank you for this year, and tune in next week or in the coming weeks for more of the Blaxcotsman live.